Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order on August 14th, 2018 at 6 p.m. First thing we'll do is a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have any public hearings, so we're going to go right into citizens forum. Anybody here to speak on citizens forum? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Lucy Edwards and I'm your reporter for the forum tonight. And I had something I wanted to say to you before the meeting started. And I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I got it all in. I have certainly had an interesting time as a reporter the past couple of weeks. After the startling experience at your last meeting on July 24th, I reported on the school board meeting of August 2nd. What a contrast. I'm back here this evening and thought perhaps I should speak as a citizen of Northwood and a journalist before the evening's meeting. First of all, I wanted to let you know that the Boston Globe has suggested to news media across the country that we all join in publishing editorials on Thursday, August 16th, about our concerns for the safety and future of journalism in our country. The forum is doing what we can with our very slim resources, what the founders of our country believed was essential to our democracy. Hold the government at all levels accountable. We will be repeating the editorial we published on June 29th after the murder of 5 journalists in their office in Annapolis, Maryland, as part of the Globe's initiative with some updates. To help us with our work, we hope that you will consider how local journalism can help you do your jobs. You may think you know the subject matter better. Excuse me, I gotta back up. Please think this evening before you jump in when somebody is speaking. You may think you know the subject matter better, but besides being very rude, I know it's hard to believe but there might be something that you don't know. If you don't listen, you never learn. If I can't hear, I can't inform your constituents. I know what a complicated job you have. I've been in your seat, and it was an intense learning experience for me. It's a very difficult job. There are a lot of moving parts to a small New Hampshire town. These are challenging times for us in Northwood and in New Hampshire and our country as well. Please be open to the idea that our community is full of good people with good ideas and a desire to be of help. Listen, as the old saying goes, we have one mouth and 2 ears for a reason.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Oh, I turned it off.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Ann Scholes. I live at 133 Golf Road in Northwood. I was here in June to talk to you about getting some additional funding for some signage on our Golf Road project that the Lake Association is now in construction for. Hopefully, we put up some signs. I just want to let the town know that if you start getting some phone calls, this is the project that's going on.
Okay.
And it will have some delays to it, so we might have some unpleasant phone calls coming in, so please ask our residents to be patient and kind and courteous to those that are out there working and putting our project in place. I wanted to say thanks for the signage contribution that took place also. The association is very active, and right now we're putting together a grant application using the Moose Plate Conservation pot of funds, and it would be terrific to get the town's support for our application. Nothing financial, just that you support our association and our efforts to keep Pleasant Lake water quality clean. I did attempt to send an email last night to the administrator to possibly have that looked at tonight by the board and supported, but I have a hard copy of that I can leave with her. And then if it's either the board or the administrator or one of the commissions to support this, and we could email directly in for the moose plate application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, I'm David Corson, and I just wanted to introduce myself because I'm running for the District 1 Northwood seat for Rockingham County on the Democratic ticket. I've lived in New Hampshire for 35 years. I've lived in Northwood for 9. Practiced medicine for more than 40 years, and for me the process really was one of trying to listen carefully to where people were at, what were the issues they were dealing with, and what I might be able to do to help them with that. I'm here tonight doing the same thing. I'm here to listen, here to try to take in some sense of what you all are dealing with, hope to be able to talk with you more, and get a sense of what sort of things you'd like to see that are issues you deal with that the legislature has an effect on, because I'd like to know what those things are when I get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
How you doing today?
Not bad. State your
Good.
name.
My name is Jeff Twarog from R&D Paving out of Franklin, New Hampshire. We did your road work this year.
Yep.
For what I understand, everyone's supposed to be pretty happy with the work that we did. I just wanted to address we did send to be honest with you, I don't know if 100% that this is the forum to do this in, but we sent our invoice out for the project, and there was question as far as the AC charge that was on it. And I just wanted to go over if there's any questions regarding that, because we did receive payment, and we thank you very much, and we do appreciate the work, obviously, this year. Thank you. But I just wanted to go if there was any questions regarding that AC. The payment did not include it, and I just didn't know if anybody needed any clarification on that, how it was figured, what it was, and that kind of thing. I made a couple packets up, just kind of explaining the situation, and I didn't know if you guys could take a second if you wanted me to try that, explain that to you, or?
Have any information on that?
I had previously sent you an email. There was an extra $7,500 charge. It did include information in their bid document indicating that the price could change based on the state's prices. Our contracts also say that, thank you, Gary. Our contracts also say that the town's not liable for overages over $1,000. So it really is the board's discretion whether they want to pay the $2,000, which would be per our contract. There was 2 contracts for 2 roads, or to pay the full $7,500 balance that R&D is requesting.
Okay.
Why such an increase?
It's not a payment that goes to us in any way. We don't make any money on that. All that is our supplier, in this case was Pike Industries. The liquid price of asphalt, it's excuse me, it's an oil-based product, based like gas and petroleum. And the price fluctuates. So the AC clause that's in there basically protects the town and it protects us, because what happens is the price goes up and down with that. So if we give you guys a price at the beginning for the bid and the price happens to go down, you guys can actually end up paying less. At the end of the day, it did go up. There was a clause clearly written on our bid, and that's my concern. That's all. I don't know if there's a time I can show you a little.
I think
little packets that I made.
maybe we could schedule something for the next meeting so we can get some. Have you talked to the attorney?
Yes, I did talk to the town's attorney, and the town is only liable for the $2,000. You know, it certainly is the board's discretion whether you all want to pay more than that to recoup the cost that R&D
I think.
put in.
I'll cut you off.
No,
I think
that's
where you weren't on the agenda tonight for us to make a decision in the public comment forum, wouldn't be due us any
Right,
justice.
right.
I think we need to have you on the agenda, so maybe we can put him on next week as an appointment. Is
That'd be
that
great.
okay?
Next week? Okay.
Yeah, then that way,
Oh,
yeah, it
in-
gives
in
you
2 weeks.
that gives
In 2
that
weeks,
gives you a
okay.
chance to actually sit up here and give us a presentation instead of.
And I just want to
holding
make sure that
in
you
3
guys
minutes.
know, we're not trying to backdoor you or anything like that. We're just being honest business people and just trying to show you exactly what our numbers are, that's all.
That's fine. It's just we already have
I
people
understand.
that are
I
on
got
the
you.
agenda, so we'll just set you for next week, and then we can actually have a full
Right.
thing. Is that okay?
That'd be great.
All
Do
right.
you
I appreciate it.
mind giving the information though to her? That way it can go in our packet.
Absolutely.
and have
Before I leave,
prior to-
I'll certainly give her the packet.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the time.
Anybody else? Wanna?
Good evening. My name is Stephen Scholes. I'm also at 133 Gulf Road towards Lynn Grove. I spend a lot of time watching traffic go by, and especially in the summer months, a lot of speeding. I don't see the police out there doing speed traps very often, and wondered if possibility of putting in some temporary traffic calming measures, possibly a road, what's the term? Speed bump. Temporary speed bump during the summer months, especially up by our house, which is a straightaway, and people tend to speed through there. I don't know, there are going to be a lot of issues, a myriad of issues discussed on Gulf Road. That I guess at one point there was a Gulf Road Advisory Committee that was disbanded because of some problems. But I might think that there are so many players involved in the Gulf Road, access, the Pleasant Lake Association, homeowners, people traveling through there, that it would be helpful if the police, fire, the town manager, and everyone got on board on what's most important for access on Gulf Road. Certainly, long-term, it would be great to have another way into Gulf Road, but I realize that's a major undertaking. But I don't know where we would, I would go to coordinate some sort of traffic calming measures. To the police department, to you.
I'm guessing you'd have to go to the police commission first, and then they would come to us with a recommendation. That's just kind of that's the way I think it should go, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, that would be accurate. You would want to start with the police commission.
So I would go to the police commissioner and request some sort of measures.
Yeah. And then they'd come to us and say whether or not they want it, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? See?
Okay, if I just give this to Kate real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, any more citizens comment? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to appointments. It looks like we have. Oh wow, I'm looking at my one that was in my packet. Good thing I looked again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So it looks like we have John and Barbara Barner, Golf Road Rock Wall. How come I got two different agendas?
I had sent you one. The one that was mailed in the packets was incorrect. I had 2 appointments.
Folks, I'm John Barner from 17.
All right, come on right up. Come on right up here and sit down, please. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak on his behalf, or is it just him? Just you? All right.
Yeah, just me so far. Folks, I'm John Barner from 17 Gulf Road. We purchased our home there about 3 years ago. With us today, we have some few people from the Lake Association, some neighbors on the same road. We are most concerned about the speed, the bank, the erosion, everything that's happening along that road. In the 3 years I've been there, I've seen a lot of change, a lot of damage, a lot of erosion. And the speed picked up, like was just brought up, the speed has picked up. I have photographs of the street prior, before and after. I'll pick through them as I speak. Okay. We purchased that home 3 years ago. It needed a lot of work. We did a lot of brush clearing, a lot of cleaning up. There was barrels on the side of the road. We cleaned those barrels off. There was rocks there. It stopped the people from driving off the road. Okay. My wife's handicapped. We liked it. We cleaned it up. Okay. Since the winter came, the plow has pushed the rocks off the road. These rocks were football and basketball size, nothing major. No plow had ever hurt a plow. So it collapsed our wall, and there's plenty of pictures. You can see our wall did come down. we rebuilt the wall, put it back up again, and it looks wonderful. Then something major league happened. Lived there 2 years in peace. The mooring ball bill passed. Since that passed, we had one individual that not only threatened myself, but 2 other people on the street that he'd make our summer miserable. And the town got roped up in this. The town got trapped by this. The chain of events were, on March 23rd, DES got a letter that said our dock was illegal. Our dock has been there since 1936. We called the homeowner. Next door neighbor Chandler's dock had been there since 1940. It was illegal, installed without permits. We were told that we had to make all these proofs. We bought the deed, showed the DES, talked to the DES. DES said it's fine. David said the property clearly showed we owned 14 feet into the water because the deed was so old. It had never been rewritten. So we got through that. Well, we're painting on a stone wall. Another call came into the Northwood and Deerfield Police Department that we were doing illegal and malicious damage on the side of the road, and it was very unsafe. Same individual that called the DES, we were told. Okay. On May 3rd, we received a letter from the town of Northwood that we had to remove the stone rocks that had been there. Okay, installed by the town in 1946. I was told by Murray Tasker. He had asked Chandler's father permission to install those rocks all the way down Gulf Road. Okay, and he did. They stopped because one car had gone off the road into the lake. Okay, those pictures right there show those rocks are still there. Okay, so when I got the letter, I had talked with Carolyn LaFont. Carolyn LaFont said talk to Charlie, the road agent. Charlie said move him back 1 foot. He doesn't remember seeing him there, but we painted him white to make him more safe and more visible. My wife's handicapped. We have a lot of grandchildren, 8 of them to be exact. So you walk along the side of the road. That road's become a racetrack. They see a straight line, and there's nobody coming. I got this one opportunity. I could blow through there and get through there before a car comes the other way. They helped me stop the erosion. On those pictures, will show how my grass, all of a sudden, since we moved it, they blew those rocks. And now they're back over driving on the embankment and making their own right of way. Okay? On May 5th, the Lake Association was clearing up the dam and the boat ramp. Again, Northwood and Deerfield Police Department was called for causing trouble, illegally parking, and the complaint was, if I can't park there, they can't park there. These are volunteers. And I don't think any of us, we're under the age of 40, we're not malicious in causing damage. I'm leading up to how the town got roped into removing these rocks. Same person, by the way, made that phone call. We had a meeting with the chief, police. Is it Droulet? Droulet said that the person making these calls has all the right in the world to complain. He does. He can make all the complaints he wants. Okay? On May 12th, I'm sitting in my own house, and an individual standing on my dock taking pictures of the wall and the dock. And he said, I asked him why he was doing this. He was agitated, very agitated, verbal swearing, and said he's going to make my life miserable. He said, I've already called the DES on you. I've already called the town of Northwood. He said, these rocks and this dock will be gone. He said, this dock will be removed permanently and you will be fined. Again, my wife called David Price. This was on May 14th. David Price was very concerned, and he said, quote unquote, these people are very threatening towards us. We'd like to meet you on May 16th immediately. Dave was with the DES. DES came down, we met with David Price, Knox Turner, the Lake Association, several neighbors. Okay, he inspected our dock. He took pictures. He saw the rocks alongside the road. He walked down each side of Gulf Road and looked at everything there and saw no problems. Nothing was illegal. The docks are grandfathered. He said he'd give us back to us if he found a true problem. He never found a problem. Okay? No problems for a month. We get another letter from DOS, Department of Safety, because I have a mooring ball. The same person made the complaint. Again, Timmy Dunleary from the DOS said that he said we did not own the water, we're totally illegal, and he wanted a copy of the deed of our land. We just did this with DES and everybody else we're working with. And I'm thinking, how many times do I have to prove myself correct? So again, we went back, I called him on the phone, I made copies, sent him our deed. Yes, Mr. Barney, you do own that land out there. You can have that. Okay, no problem. He said my verbal commitment was okay. Didn't need a letter. July 18th, Again, town of Northwood gets another call about the rocks, large rocks in the middle of the road. Those rocks that have been by the farmhouse since 1910. Okay, those rocks that were installed by the town to protect cars, protect the bank from driving off the lake. Many of those pictures you're going to see, the rocks are pushed out by the plows. You know, those are made to keep people from going into the lake and save the embankment. The embankment's falling down. Caitlin called my wife and said the rocks need to be removed immediately along with 25 Golf Road, which John's here to attest to that. The town made a mess, a total complete mess by just flipping over rocks and moving backwards. These rocks were a ton or better. They've been there since 1910. The marker for his land was in the 1700s, and they flipped it over, moved them off the road with no just cause because of one complainant, one person making all the noise. One, and the town got roped into that. And if you look at all these complaints and complaints and complaints, one after the other. All right, we never asked for this, okay? And eventually, like I said, these rocks were put in along the road in 1964 to 1966. I had to remove the 4 stones in front of my house, which Charlie said I could keep in there. The U.S. said I could keep in there. Now the town says I can't. You could pick these up, a child can pick them up and move them over. Now my road has become a racetrack. They've come as far as they can, is now they got a wider road to travel on. At the farmhouse, the road is double wide there. There was no need to remove those rocks. They had been there forever. Yet the town decided to because they were receiving complaints. And somebody knows somebody and caused this issue. Somebody knows somebody. Because why all of a sudden these complaints, we read the dates, listen to these dates, one after the other. Now, my main concern is what's next. What do I expect next? If I go on my dock with a fishing pole and a beer can in my hand, am I public drinking? Am I going to get that phone call? You know, we don't know what to expect from this person next. And that's why I'm here today. And the Lake Association is here to speak about it too. But I just want to state my mind, explain what's going on so you know that there was no need for this. That we lived there 3 years happily and all of a sudden I can't have rocks to protect my children, my wife, and my property.
You all set?
I'm done.
Okay. So as far as what he's going to do next, we can't control that.
I know.
To speak to the 25 Golf Road,
Yes.
I agree, those rocks have been there forever. The grass was growing up around them. That was quite obvious. As far as the one at 17, I drive that road every week. They were clearly put there and then painted about a month later. They were moved. I drive it every week.
Do you remember the whiskey barrels?
They were moved, they were in line with the TELF. They were on the banking last year. This summer, they were moved parallel with the light pole. They were moved from the banking to the light pole. That's what happened. And then they were painted about a week, 2 weeks later. They were regular rocks, and then they became painted. That's right around the time the complaints came in. We have been approached by the chief and says it's a safety concern there. Do I agree that people fly on that road? Absolutely. Do I think the road is narrow? Absolutely. Is it dangerous? Absolutely. But the reason why they pull off there is we can't actually get the fire apparatus through there without a car backing up. That's why those ones needed to be moved back. 25, you're right, that is a 2-lane. There is enough room to get by there. Because I know right where 25 is the big white house right there. Your rocks were in the ground. You can come up and speak if you want.
So my main concern about what happened at 25 Golf Road is we initially did get a letter from the town, and I spoke with you, I believe, on the phone, and you said, no, 25 isn't the issue, it's further down the road, you're all set. I had never received another letter, I had never received anything else. All of a sudden I come up on a Friday night to come to the lake, and I got, John had already kind of given me a heads up of what was going on up there, and then I come up there, all my rocks have been pushed back by a backhoe. You can tell there's scrape marks in the ground, there's scrape marks in the dirt, and then my big rock, which was my marker, which had a drill mark.
That was the one right on the corner, as you go right around the corner, correct?
Absolutely.
Just before the...
All that was shown on the top of the...
Yeah, it's like literally just the top of the rock.
Now it is completely down, rolled down towards the lake front. And we had no knowledge that this was going to happen. We had nobody had called us and said, hey, we're going to be moving them, even after the first letter. And after the first letter, like, I made the phone call, my father actually made a phone call as well. We were all set, and that was it. And then all of a sudden, everything's moved.
Now, just to be fair, I haven't been down there since they moved them, but I know exactly the rock. You're talking about the rock that's right on the corner before.
I have a picture of it on my phone.
Just
so you can
before
see it.
the like the bridge. It's like there's like a little.
Yes, right
There's a
where
guardrail or whatever that's right around the corner.
No. Nope, not that rock. I have a picture of it on my phone if you'd like to see it.
I'm pretty sure I know exactly.
There's
what you're
several
talking
here
about.
that have
It's
your
this
address.
picture. It's this rock right here that's rolled down.
Okay.
That rock was in the ground.
Yeah.
That's my property marker for my land.
Okay.
And it's got a drill mark on top with an inscription of the 3 years that it was assessed, that they had scribed into the rock, and now it is upside down, and you can just barely feel on the front of it where that the inscriptions are in the drill mark.
Okay. So.
And it was, like I said, there was no prior knowledge that this was going to happen, and all of a sudden I come up and everything's moved. And my main concern is, one, the property marker, which I have another issue that I need that property marker there for bounds. And second is that now where that huge rock's been taken out with all the rain we've just had, there's now a
I was
washout.
actually up there the other day.
There's now a washout going right down to the lake.
Yeah, the ditches was pretty well washed out.
And not to mention, it's undermining the road right there.
Okay.
Can it be
So
pushed back to the edge?
this is 25. Yeah. So that that marker one's right here on the far corner, correct? If you're looking at this picture, it's this one right here on that
Yes,
far
sir.
corner.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's
The
where I
pictures
thought
when
it
you
was.
were talking.
It's a little bit more around the
A
corner.
little bit,
yes.
like it's like literally right at the end of the corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think
Can't they all?
can we put that one back?
Yes, I
I
have.
think we need to.
Charlie's been in contact with me. He was waiting for the backhoe to free up. He was going to come and try to put it back. My concern is I want to make sure it goes back right to where it's supposed to be. So
Okay.
he was going to get the surveyor to come out, survey the spot, and put it back.
Okay.
But I just don't understand where the telephone poles, all my rocks now that have been there forever, that I never painted, I've never done anything with, are now pushed back way past the telephone poles when they could have just stayed where they were, because there's two lanes, clearly two lanes there. I don't understand why they were touched.
I don't know why, as far as where 25 is, why we moved those.
It was
I
at
know it was a complaint.
It was at the last meeting.
know
When
he's
we
told
discussed
to.
the Gulf Road, it was brought up that there were other rocks on the road, and the board had collectively indicated that all the rocks needed to be removed or moved out of the way.
Didn't the chief of police say that they were in the way?
I reached out, initially it was the road agent who initially brought the rocks to my attention, indicated that the rocks were in the town's right-of-way. At that point was when we sent the initial letters to each of the homeowners that have frontage on the property.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I can speak or not, but you're Catherine?
I am Catherine.
You told me that you had asked...
Hold on.
So, at that point, the road agent had brought this to my attention. I had indicated that I sent the letter to all 4 property homeowners that have frontage on the water, indicating that rocks are not allowed to be put in the town's right-of-way. It's a general practice on any town road for safety reasons. You need to be able to have the roadside for emergency vehicles and other vehicles to pull over in case of emergencies. At that point, then the residents did call. Number 25 was not in the mix. Again, the number 17 was the ones that were initially brought to my attention. From that point, we did reach out to the police department and the fire department to give input. The road agent, the police department, and the fire department cautioned that anything in the town's right-of-way does present a potential for a hazard for the various reasons why we don't allow things to be placed in the right-of-way. Not just rocks, but fences. We caution people not to put plants in the right-of-way because there is a case of additional hazards or damage to personal property. So at that point, we had sent the letter, then there was some deliberation back and forth about the rocks, which did take a couple of months. We put it back on the selectmen's agenda, and the selectmen at that point had indicated that the rocks should be moved, and in a matter of fairness, to move all of the rocks. At which point I did send a letter again to number 17 and number 25.
That's incorrect. We did not receive
I received it back in the mail.
We did not receive either letter from, we have two addresses that are on file with,
Yes.
with the town that are not the 25 Gulf Road to send any kind of mail to, that we receive mail from, and we
Well,
do
that would explain why the letter came back to
And we
me.
did not
So
but we
effort
received
was
the-
made on
did
behalf
receive
of
the
the
first one.
town. Effort was made on behalf of the town to notify both property owners.
My problem is that those rocks are all the way down the road. Prior to my property, there's an additional 6 of them lined up with the telephone pole exactly where mine were. Prior to that, there was whiskey barrels, and you said you know the street very well. Those 2 rotted out whiskey barrels that bought the house, they were sitting on each corner, and there was a wooden platform underneath the sand I took out of there. That had been there for years. We painted the rocks. And we talked to Charlie. Charlie said at first it was lined up at the pole, it was okay. Charlie said move him back a foot. We did exactly what Charlie said. He would write Caitlin a letter or talk with Caitlin. Speak with Caitlin, and said that he didn't see any problem with it, nor did DES. And because they were so small, it didn't create a hazard at that time. So I will personally reach out to the police chief and the fire department, speak with them.
Are you talking about where they are now, as in like last?
I moved them backwards. I was told that
Correct.
they can't be in parallel with the telephone
You
pole.
moved them, I'd say about 2 weeks ago, roughly.
Correctly.
I've gone by them a few times since you've moved them, and I think that, to my opinion, this is my opinion only, I think they're far enough back, because now they're basically on the edge of the embankment.
We wanted to keep them lined up with the pole
I
because they're driving on the property. That's how the wall collapsed.
I understand that that's what you wanted to do.
Is there a picture of where they are now?
Yeah, they're like here.
This is
Yeah, this is
prior.
before, they're like one's here, and one's here.
So you scooch
Roughly.
each rock back about a foot
Mhm.
from this picture right here.
Correct.
To be honest, I didn't know we were moving all the rocks on 25.
Yes,
To
well,
be completely fair and honest, I didn't know that. As far as the boundary marker, I think we have to put that
yeah,
one back.
absolutely.
On an average, though, if you're willing to disagree or not, but the rocks that were moved at 25 Gulf Road in front of my property, on the property there, are maybe 2 feet, 3 feet off the road when they started, and now they're pushed back even further now. All that's going to cause is people to come flying around that corner, and I'd like them all back to where they were. We did not get a letter to stay to move them. And
Rocks in the roadside don't prevent speeding.
I think we do need to have the chief patrol that area a little more.
Absolutely.
Maybe throw the speed trap down there every so often, maybe once a month or something. I think we need to get with the surveyor,
Yeah.
get his corner rock put back, the
Your mark.
boundary marker put back, and then maybe if we could have Charlie go back there and maybe clean it up and make it look at least somewhat
Yes,
presentable.
he indicated to me yesterday that he had gone out and raked the area. I believe he was looking into what type of grass seed he could potentially put in the area where it's right in the watershed buffer. He has to be careful what he places there.
When he's down there too, this is a completely different subject. I know he did the ditching there, but I think it was just I'm not blaming him. I think it was just a combination of he ditched it and then we got a crap load of rain right after he ditched it and nothing got settled.
Yeah.
It's all blown back out.
Yes,
It's just
Yeah.
rain. It just happened. So while he's down there with the backhoe, we
Yeah.
have him look at that too.
absolutely.
Thanks. So I guess that's as far.
Further discussion?
Do you have something pertaining to these two?
Yep,
Are you gonna make it quick?
sure.
All right, I'll listen.
My name is John Duffy. I'm president of the Pleasant Lake Association. And sounds like dealing with rocks a lot more than you'd like to. But the issue for us is, the speed. Sounds like we're going to address that with the police chief to work on that. And that's,
I'm actually 100% for his idea with the speed bump.
yep.
To be honest with you,
Appreciate
I think there should be one at each end of the road. One when you
No
first come in.
disagreement.
one when you first come in and then one before you. I know right where you're talking about when you go up that straightaway, up that hill. I know exactly where you're talking about.
The other piece for the association is runoff into the lake. And I don't know if you're going to talk about the project we're doing from 107 to the Deerfield end of Gulf Road, but there was significant runoff coming in to the lake there. And so we got a grant from DES for $90,000, and that work is going to be done. We've already alerted the police chief now, probably right after Labor Day. The next source of runoff was the rest of Gulf Road, where that's eroding in. So our concern is, what are your intentions with that? If the police are concerned about moving rocks back a foot, is that going to be enough? There's not much more room before you're in the lake. And what does the work that you've already done do to impact the runoff into the lake? And I know you're going to go back and fix part of it, but with the storms that occurred last weekend, a lot of the damage is underway.
There's a clear path right to the lake on that big rock where the marker is
So
now.
we would just ask, that when you take on these projects, however they're sourced and started, that you consider the lake in your dealings there. And we'll be glad to come and work with you. And we're applying for other grants. We've got a situation on the other end of the lake where runoff is coming down 107. Into the south end, and our next project would be, doing something along Gulf Road to fix it, and we can apply for grants that can be used to help, improvements there, and we'd like to work with you on that. But just if you can just consider, the broader concerns, I want to make, John brought this to our attention, and I wanted him to have his piece on the issues there, but I wanted to bring some of the broader issues to mind.
So I think that's what we need to do. We need to put that cornerstone rock back, the landmarker rock back. We need to have the highway department go out there and clean it up, and then we need to keep an eye on any sort of, after we get the rock back to where it belongs, any sort of runoff.
Yep.
And then take further action from there.
Absolutely. I can touch base with the police department regarding speed down in that area, and talk to them about the potential of a speed bump. It might not be a bad idea where before the road narrows, to slow people down, especially. But certainly we can get some input from the police department on how to best address those concerns.
Definitely some more patrol.
Yep, absolutely. And, there's certainly a clear issue with the road being as narrow as it is, and the vicinity of the road to the lake. It is particularly challenging, and it is something that I do believe the town will have to address at some point in, sooner than later in the future.
What, riding in the road?
The road itself, what?
Only one way to go. Into people's yards, so we can't go the other way.
Right, which is a addition to the challenges.
Mr. Turner?
Could I speak?
Of course you can, Mr. Turner. Just because it's you. Just because it's you.
Okay. Knox Turner, 3 Turner Drive. And I serve as the director for the North End, which means I know these people very well. We live on this side of the lake. And I have seen the development of that road since I was 6 years old, probably consciousness. Okay. My job is going to be to look at the elephant in the room. Okay, so let me bring this up. Safety has always been an issue. It was because of that a mooring petition went in, and the Department of Safety ruled that safety was necessary in that place. It strikes me as somewhat ironic that all these small details about right-of-way instantly become applicable when the law is in effect, and there are people who are upset about that level of access to Pleasant Lake. Okay. The safety issue is this. You would regulate my home if I only had one door in it for access and egress. And what is the reason for that? That is safety. That is the reason why we have that. And yet you have over 350 households on Gulf Road. And one could easily say hundreds, if not thousands of people in play who only have one way in and one way out. And would there be a problem with that?
Absolutely.
Ultimately, this town must take that bull by the horns and push through to the other side for sheer safety concerns. The elephant in the room here is that people are trying to make a road which is narrow by nature because of its being hemmed in. They're trying to make it into a road that it is not, that it can't be. And what has happened is that the people on the north end of the lake have turned out to be the subject of abusive treatment. And just being, their lives have been sort of hassled and pushed. And a regulation applies, but maybe for a 30-year period it doesn't. Okay, so out of all fairness to good people of good faith who try to make that road work, realizing that they're in a difficult position, so close to that road, given the fact that there are more children on that road than ever before, given to the fact that if you do a speed trap once a month, it will not take long for people to realize what time that speed will not be made, so that in an interim, the temporary speed bumps is a good solution. But in the end, there's been a sort of a societal breakdown here in terms of goodwill and how we deal with a less than ideal road. Construction will begin and it will try the patience of people even more. I do not want to see my town of Northwood being used as an enabler for people to make private jabs at people for impossible for you guys to know what reasons are being motivating them. So I need to address that elephant in the room to you guys. It's expensive, it's long range, this town needs a plan. It's not going to happen overnight. But think of that house. Would you allow that house to be built with only one door? You have allowed that to happen a long time. And you have given building permits so that that problem is aggravated. So I implore upon you to put good people of good faith together to come up with a plan and a way of financing that can solve that problem and connect these people to their own town instead of going through two towns, Epsom and Deerfield, to get to them. That is the bigger issue. All of this seems to be quite petty in relationship to that big issue. And also for the well-being of that jewel of a lake, which is unbelievably clear, and people love it for that. And it will not stay that way if that road is continued to be abused, find a right-of-way here, a place there. It just won't happen. It's one of the oldest chestnuts we have here in this town. I know that. But the time has come with this many people to put a plan into place so that we won't be dickering about rocks, or do we have 1 foot for that fire equipment to put one of its tires in, when in fact it wasn't such an issue for 20 years. That is what I want to convey to you. Thank you.
We'll wrap this up. I agree, though, we do need to look into building that road too. Maybe get some grants.
There you go, Kate, write a grant.
I like projects.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate what you do. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Just a little history lesson. Quite a few years ago, there was a petition to bring the road from Blake's Hill over to the Gulf. The people that happened to be living there at the time, which I'm sure is not the same people now, threatened any member of the fire department that if we voted for that road, we would never get any other piece of equipment. They did not want the road, the people that were actually living there. So it didn't pass. And as far as the rocks and like that or whatever, 20 years ago, fire equipment, ambulances are bigger now than they were back then. So that has to be taken into consideration too. But, you know, the townspeople did try to rectify that many years ago, and the people over there didn't want it. So.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on. Jim Valancourt, trustees of trust fund, come on up.
Good evening. How are you? I'm here tonight as the chair of the trustees of the trust fund, and we're trying to make some changes to the
Thank you for coming.
Motion. Having a hard time hearing you. Just let the motion settle down for a second.
Listening. You started talking and they all left.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm here as the chairman of the trustees of the trust fund. We're trying to make changes to the trust fund that we believe should have been made a long time ago, that will make the trust funds more professional and less risky for the town. Some of these are going to cost money, and that you may be able to do that this year. If not, we'd like them to be budget considerations for next year. The first is, we believe the 3 trustees of the trust fund should have town email addresses. That way all of our emails will be archived on the town server. And so if there's ever a right to know request for trustees of the trust fund issue, Kate would be able to get at them, no problem. Everything would be there. Today we use our personal emails, and it would be very difficult to get an accurate trail for somebody that was doing a right to know request. We'd also like to have space on the server. The town has opened up a menu item for the trustees of the trust fund, and we've been putting our minutes there, our public stuff. We'd like to have space on the server to do our private stuff. Putting the monthly mutual fund reports and quarterly reports out for the public with all the account numbers and stuff, we don't think is appropriate. If there was a right to know for that, well, fine, we could give it out as a right to know, but we don't think it should be in the public space, just the summary reports. We'd like to purchase a laptop, $600 or $700 laptop, on which we'd put a $200 QuickBooks, which has all of our records. Right now, our QuickBooks are attached to Peter George's QuickBook account that he has for his business. And it was attached to a prior member of the trustees of the trust funds before. And we think that's risky for the town, because if something should happen to Peter, our ability to get at our records would be very difficult.
Should be on, not that I mind that it's on his computer, it should be on his computer anyways. You're right, we should have our own.
So, $600, $700 laptop, that way if he leaves town, God forbid something should happen to him, we could go and say, Peter had a laptop, this is the town of Northwoods, we'd like to have that, the family could easily hand that. Or if it was at my house because Peter was gone, I could easily hand that back to the town. The other thing, we'd like to have a filing cabinet that locks here at Town Hall to keep the last 3 or 4 years of records in. The others we have sent to the town storage facility, which are not as easy to get at, but the last couple of years we'd like to have here, rather than at somebody's house, we'd like to have it here. So we're trying to make it a little more professional process. And so that we're looking for about it's probably going to be about $1,000 to do the laptop, the QuickBooks, and the lock filing cabinet. Kate has looked for a filing cabinet here, yeah. and that search was not very successful.
Not very successful.
3-drawer or 2-drawer? 3-drawer or 2-drawer?
Like the tall ones, 3 or 4 drawers?
A 2-drawer would work for us.
I hate saying this, but is that something we can get at the recycling center? We used to get those all the time.
If it locks.
We can take a look at
Where I got mine from.
what we got.
But I think it's not a bad idea to get a new one either. Personally. What's the budget look like?
Well, I had asked Sandy
$1 million question.
I had asked Sandy to look into where there might be some funds. She cannot really pinpoint an area at this point where she thought you know, that just jumped out that we have, you know, maybe some extra money that's not going to be expended. If you're in favor of funding it out of this year's budget, I can put her on the task of, you know, really delving in a little deeper to the budget and see where $1,000 might be available.
I think it's something that we have to look into. Because to his point, I mean, I appreciate Mr. George, right? Mr. George, is that what you said? Yeah. Mr. George putting it on his computer, but if something happens, to your point, we don't have a backup. I wouldn't want my information on I wouldn't want it on my phone or whatever computer. So I think what we can do, Jim, is because we don't have a set place where we can get the money right this minute. I think
Understood.
we need to have Sandy get on it, and then we can make a decision by the next meeting. That should give her enough time to tell us where we can get the money from. I support this. And in the meantime, that gives us 2 weeks to, who knows, maybe something may come up when we get a drawer, but if not, we can always put it into the purchase.
Okay.
So I guess we can put that bug into Josie, or maybe one comes in, you never know.
Okay.
Because you can always buy a new lock from, I think. I honestly don't know.
Okay.
But I think it's a great idea to try to find the money. If we knew where the money is now, I'd support it today.
No, that's fine. I'm not coming here tonight for an answer.
No,
I'm
just
coming.
saying I support it. We just got to find, if we can find it within the budget, we'll take care of it.
Understood. And if not, you're supportive of putting it in 2019.
Absolutely.
Okay. The last issue that I wanted to talk about is there are two expendable trust funds. There is the 225th anniversary trust fund, which was used to pay all the bills for the 225th celebration. We've been funding the 250th, which will happen in 2023, $1,000 a year, and we've been putting money in that. The 225th can't be used for anything but the 225th anniversary.
Which is already passed.
Which is already passed. So $10,000 is sitting there collecting interest and has been.
Okay.
And so what we'd like to do is to get a warrant article on the 2019 warrant, which would change the purpose of that fund to allow money to come out of that. Now, some research needs to be done because we're not sure whether or not we need to take the money out of the 225th and put it in the unfunded fund balance of the town's checking account, okay? And then the next year, have another warrant article
and puts that money somewhere else.
Which would take that and puts it into the 250th.
Okay. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay. And the other thing is to clean up the language of the 250th so that when the 250th is all done, we know what to do with the money.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have the 250th sitting around. Maybe we immediately create a 275th and we put the money there, or we put whatever, I don't know. Research needs to be done there. And so what I'm here tonight is to ask for clarity. Do you want to take this ball and do the research and the legwork, or would you want the trustees of the trust funds to take the ball, do the legwork, and come back to you and say, okay, this is what needs to be done?
I would say, for me, I don't know a lot about this, so I would push it to you. Huh?
We'd love to have him do it.
Okay. But if you want to work on it with Kate to come back, because with the, like you said, a new warrant article and the proper wording, I'm 100% on board. As far as me doing all that, I would have no clue to where you would begin, honestly.
So you're okay if the trustees of the trust fund work with Kate and come up with a plan to make all of this happen so we don't have money stuck out.
I don't have any problem with that one whatsoever.
Okay.
I think that's the best way. I think to ask us where we don't know all of the logistics like you guys do, being a part of it all the time, would be better. That way we're getting the right information from you guys instead of us trying to come up with information that you might not, you know more. So I think that's the best way to go about it.
Okay. And Kate, you sent me an email today and you said you were looking into the email addresses for the
yes.
town
So I have not been able to determine how much the town pays per email address. So I need to get with Mainstay. Sandy typically does all the dealings with Mainstay. I have very little interaction with them. And also to have additional space on the server, that is also something that Sandy and I will need to work with Mainstay regarding. I don't know what the feasibility is. I mean, I know certainly we can get email addresses, how much they cost. I don't have any information like that for you at this point.
We might have to budget for, like, you think it's going to be that much of a cost?
I don't, to be honest, I have no idea.
I guess we need to do the research, and then if it is something that we see as a big cost, we may have to budget and then wait, which actually doesn't make actually kind of does make a little bit of sense. If we wait till after elections anyways, because that's when we kind of have some turnover in some of the committees and other things to start to do all of the, say we have to budget for it, then we can do it in March when you have the rollover in committees, you have the new appointments, the people that don't get reappointed and all of those such things. You could do it all at once, and then that way you'd have the money in the budget if it needs to be budgeted.
Because I think one of the things that we ought to consider is that out of the August 1st meeting with all of the committees, one of the action items out of that meeting
absolutely. I think it's a great
was to
idea.
have a right to know person come and talk to us.
Yeah.
Because I think a right to know discussion would give us a much clearer picture of how much we're at risk and what we would need to do to mitigate that risk.
Right.
Right.
And so then it may be more than just giving the 3 trustees of the trust funds email addresses. It may go to the library trustees. It may go to other elected positions as well.
Yeah.
So I think that ought to go into the mix, and that's certainly a good idea. Is we do the work ready for March of 2019.
I think that's the only way. I mean, it's going to take some time to figure out what we need and what we're going to have to do and how we're going to get there anyway. So that gives us the time to do it. And if we have to budget, maybe it might not be an extravagant cost where you have to throw a huge amount into the budget, but it might be. We don't know.
Now, do you want me back in 2 weeks if you're going to talk about whether you can budget it this year or you can pay for it this year, or we're going to budget it for next?
If you'd like to come in, I don't think we need to have an appointment. If you want to come in when we're, I think we can make it one of our unfinished businesses.
Yeah, I mean, the costs are pretty, I mean, they're within, my authority to
$1,000. We're talking about the $1,000.
Yeah.
That's within your authority.
Yeah, I can sign up on up to $2,500.
So that's something that we can just do if Sandy can find the money in it.
Okay.
We can just, I don't even think we need to make a motion if we're telling you that we support it.
Yeah, if you guys support the purchase, then it really doesn't have to come back before the board. Obviously, I'll let you know. No, I don't even think you need to make any sort of motions. It's
Okay,
really
so I just need to stay in contact with Kate,
That's
and
what it sounds like.
we'll be
Tim.
fine.
If that's what she's saying, then I'm going to listen to her.
Okay.
Now, through the course of our conversation, it looks like it's going to be more money or anything like that, then, certainly we would, or beyond anything that we've talked about tonight, I would certainly represent it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I think
And if I need to be here, you can just tell me that.
Yeah,
and
I
I'll
think we need to get the laptop, and if we can get the filing cabinet from the transfer station, great. If we can't, let's get. If they're not that expensive, let's get one of those, and then we can take care of that aspect, and then we can deal with the emails come March-ish.
Okay, cool.
Or maybe sooner if we find out it's not a lot of money, we might be able to do it sooner.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to unfinished business. Bryant Road complaint, grading complaint.
Mr. Colby had called again regarding the condition of Bryant Road grading. We had left it. I wasn't sure if he was going to come in this evening or not, but I wanted to put it on the agenda just in case he did come in this evening to discuss the road condition. And if the selectmen would like to do anything further with Bryant Road at this time.
Is there somebody that we can get that's completely non-biased to go and look at that road? Because I think this is the only cure to this issue, because we obviously have conflicting reports as it's been done, and then one that hasn't been done. So you're going to have Charlie say it's done, and I'm not saying that it wasn't done. And then you're going to have him that's saying it's not done. So which one was it? So if we can have somebody that can just go down there and say, hey, okay, it looks like it was done, and this is just general wear. We have a second opinion instead of just going, he said.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go onto Bryant Road. I mean, I considered it, again, I don't have a basis of what condition it was prior. The road condition is pretty good. There's no potholes. It wasn't really a bumpy ride. It's not a very long road either. Charlie did indicate that it is set, he would like to add more gravel to as many dirt roads as he can this year, if budget allows, and complete fall grading on those roads.
He's gonna have time with all the, I'm kind of guessing only with the weather that he's a little bit behind on ditching.
I mean, the weather has everything behind.
That's why
all
I said
projects.
I'm kind of guessing.
Yes. That is the goal that he had talked about with me. So now I think budget plays more of a factor than time, to be quite honest.
So I guess the best thing we can do is if he didn't come in today, then.
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys had another idea
I don't know
of
what we can do. I mean, I don't want to say let's go back out and regrade it, and it's been regraded. That's kind of why I was kind of hoping if we had some sort of second opinion by somebody that isn't a part of the town or know him. I know this is almost impossible to do, but then you have, instead of it's he against he, you have this third person that can say, you know what, it looks like it was done to me.
Yeah, I mean the road is really in such good condition that I don't know that compared to other dirt roads that are out there. I mean, would somebody be able to come and say, yeah, it was absolutely graded this year? I don't even know that that's something that could occur without seeing the road before and after.
Absolutely. That is true too.
You know.
So I think we're just going to have to take our road agent's word.
You know that Pete logged. Pete keeps a log of all his work. He did write down the day that Bryant Road was graded, and he did indicate that he did go over it after with a York rake. And I guess the York rake is to pull, the sides in, because when the grader goes over, it leaves, kind of the material built up in the roadside. So I guess the York rake pulls it back in, and I'm just taking this off of my discussion with Pete last week after I spoke with Mr. Colby.
I'm going to kind of throw out an idea here. This can kind of go one of two ways, and I can see the employees' discomfort in this, but what we do at our work with a lot of these things is we're required to wear a GoPro. So that way, when you pick an order, if it's picked wrong, they can automatically go and say, hey, this is where it was. Or so if you have a camera, say, in the backhoe pointing at the road with a date code on it, and they say, well, you didn't grade this road. You go right into your little computer, say, okay, well, it was graded on, Pete keeps a log, July 1st, click up on the thing, camera, boom, there you go, done. No questions asked.
Yeah.
I know it's not really too great for the employees because you get that perception that you're watching them, but it's not really about us watching them. It's more about us having record of what we're doing. So when people come in to complain, we can say, hey, we have this saying it was done.
But
we're
it's
not
a
looking.
bad expense to the town, and we should trust our employees.
I'm not saying we don't trust our employees. It's more of a backup for us because you're gonna get this all forever. It's never gonna end. We can trust our employees, but it's never going to end. If you just say, hey, you know what? Here you go. It was done. They probably ain't going to come and complain next year because they're going to know, you know what? They probably got a camera that said that they did it on that day. It's just my thought.
This is interesting. Yeah.
What we do.
It's a neat idea.
It's how we do it every day at work. It's called. It's not just accountability. It's called. The company is taking care of its own, is covering their own butt, regardless. We're not allowed to have cell phones at work. We can't even have them in the building. It's not even allowed. You get caught, you're done. That simple. And we got more cameras in there than you can even imagine. It's crazy. Just I mean, theoretically, the camera would be pointing out of the truck, so you wouldn't really be watching the employee, but I get what you're saying. I do.
Because they're keeping a log.
Yeah, but I understand that, and I agree. And I'm not saying that they're not keeping an accurate log, but you're going to have the questions. It's going to be, well, you didn't do it, and then you're right, you're stuck to taking the word, but I don't follow them around every day.
Right. Well, and I mean, it was a contracted company that the town,
There you go,
the town utilized, and if there was dissatisfaction with the quality of work that the contractor put out, or there was concern that the contractor did not, say, go out there, you know, that's certainly something that when the Highway Advisory Committee meets on something like this, they have say if there was dissatisfaction with you know, the company that did the grading this year. Although beyond the one complaint on Bryant Road, we haven't received any other complaints on the grading jobs that were done on the other dirt roads.
So when we hire a company to come in and do the work, who checks to make sure it's been done?
That, I mean, it depends on the contractor. In this case, it would be the road agent.
Right. So he said it was done.
Correct.
I think we've come into a world now, and I think it's not just us. I think we've come into a world now where if you don't really physically have proof, people are going to complain. It's everything's about a picture now or a video.
And we would have to require all subcontractors to do the grading.
We don't have to have subcontractors. I guess what you could do is
But it was the other person.
theoretically, when Charlie goes out to check it, you have him do a video of it on his phone, and then you can upload it to whatever.
I mean, I suppose, you know, you
Because
take
you're gonna
pictures before and after.
You're going to be able to tell that it was touched. I mean, it's come to that part of the world that's what everything is now. Everything's about, here's my picture, here's my picture. It really is.
Unfortunate.
That's the way it's come. And I think it's just one of those things where the town, it will be in the town's best interest to do that. I understand that the employees aren't going to particularly like it, but that way we can stop a lot of this, well, he said, she said, and you have, okay, well, this is a before picture, this is an after picture, date code on each one.
That might be a more, you know, immediate procedure that, you know, the town department can implement.
I mean, I don't even have an issue with buying them a camera if they don't want to use their own phone. I mean, if they don't want to, I could understand them not wanting to use their personal phone to do that.
Right.
I mean, a digital camera ain't that expensive.
I don't know if the road agent currently has a town phone. Okay, so the road agent has a town phone anyway.
I mean, I don't even know if his phone's got a camera. I think it's all just something that we need to consider. Yeah, we need to consider. It's something we definitely need to consider.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good idea. I mean, even our insurance companies indicate, you know, if we're having certain things done, you know, repair jobs and things of that nature, they indicate that it's a good idea to take pictures before and after.
It really has become that now. Okay, is that it?
Yep, so that one is it there. So we're not going to do anything
I think
anything outside of what our kind of fog goal is for that road.
Stick on that path. I think we need to really concentrate on the ditching. I know it's been a real rough couple weeks with the weather. I understand that.
We have had some crazy rain.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand. That's why I said earlier, I don't think Gulford was his fault by any means. I think it just didn't have time to settle.
Yeah.
It just blew out all the gravel right after he did it, and
Right.
it was just one of those things. It wasn't anything he did wrong. It's just
Yeah,
weather.
he was disappointed with that one.
I went up and
he
I was
was
like,
ready
oh,
to
man.
check that one off the list.
No, I mean, and I could tell it was done, and you could tell that's exactly what happened. It just didn't settle by the time before it didn't get a chance to settle properly.
Right.
And then the rain, we got that sheets of rain, and you could literally see all the rock stayed there, the gravel just didn't.
Right. Right. There's been a lot of washouts and runoff. Rain this
Yeah,
season.
absolutely, sure. Okay, so we'll move on to the acceptance of the July 24th minutes. I'll make a motion to accept July 24th minutes as read.
I second.
Seeing any discussion?
Yeah, they were fine.
Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 2-0. We got processing various assessing forms and applications.
There are,
Okay, so it looks like we need to do, this is an application for reimbursement of the towns and cities in which federal and state forest land is society. Northwood Meadow State Park, map 222 lot 42, map 222 lot 43, map 222 lot 44, map 222 lot 45, map 222 lot 46. Number of acres is 368.26. Value per acre is $1,089 for a total assessment value of $401,100. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? So we're reimbursing them that money?
we are asking for reimbursement
For that money?
not for that money. I'm not exactly sure how much money they end up giving us back.
We're asking for reimbursement because we can't build on those lots, correct?
Right,
Okay.
right.
That's really kind of what I had.
Yes.
Any more discussion?
No.
Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 2-0. And this one is Woodman State Forest, map 228, lot 4, number of acres 30.63. Value per acre is $1,241 for a total assessed valuation of $38,000. So moved. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes 2-0. And this will be a land use change tax for 170 Ridge Road, map 219, lot 23, sublot 2. Acres to be removed from current use is 2.50. So moved. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Who's coming next?
Yes.
We just take the whole stack?
Yeah, if you want, and then if you have any specific questions.
So this would be for Manchester paving. This is for the saw cut and pave 3 by 100 foot area for transfer station gate electric. This would be coming out of the transfer station expendable trust fund.
The other option was to have Charlie rent a cutter and cut the area, and we had talked about putting cold patch in.
I think this is a reasonable amount of money, to be honest with you, to finish.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a good
I mean,
quote.
I would have liked to have seen our highway department do it, but we were already behind. I mean, by the time we rent the machine, you're talking $200 to $300, and then we're still going to have to do something afterwards. You're going to be real close to that amount anyways.
I think at the end of the day, you probably will be.
I mean, or well, close that it's not. This is, at least we can get it done and not have to worry about Charlie finding time. I'll just move that for any.
We have the money, right?
It's in the transfer station expendable trust funds. So moved.
A second?
Just for the record, the total cost of this project, just so if somebody wants to know and ask, would be $19,038. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
19,000?
Yeah, that's total. That's
Oh.
everything. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. All right. And just, do we have a date when they're going to start that project?
Manchester Paving actually wanted to come cut it today, and I said you can't cut it today until I get Selectmen's approval.
So, but my thing is I don't have a problem cutting it ASAP.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to cut it and then us wait 3 weeks before we dig it and put the trench in.
Yeah, no, they're ready to cut, and Charlie's ready to dig. Obie's electric
So
is
we're gonna
ready to
drop
run
the,
it.
we're gonna drop to all of that before they come with the fence?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've all been communicating and.
Okay,
and
that works. 'Cause all we really
Yeah.
need to do is we need to just put that pipe so he can run the wires in. I don't even think he needs to run the wires. It's more of just dropping the pipe in and then, because you can feed the wires through.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted. I just didn't want it to be cut and left there for a week, 2 weeks,
Absolutely.
3 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do Dennis Pond Lake hosting, and this is the second half of their annual appropriation for the amount of $2,250. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 2-0. This is for Lamprey Healthcare. This is for the Lamprey Healthcare 2018 approved amount for the amount of $4,500. So moved. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor? No. Motion passes 2-0. You beat me to let me say it. What is this? What is this?
That, I believe, that is the form to notify the state of a resignation of a town employee.
I have a question on this.
Sure.
How, did you already post this?
In-house as of.
How can we post a job in-house before we accept a resignation? Just wondering.
Because it's vacant.
Yeah, but we haven't accepted it yet, so it's not technically vacant.
But it is.
But he didn't come back the next day.
I thought it said he,
But I
according
did
to his
have.
resignation, it was September 3rd.
I read it as a, I'm done now.
If he's, then maybe, he didn't come back, then that's fine. I was just,
Did he come back?
I'm only asking some semantics. I don't really have an issue that it's
No.
posted. I'm just asking
No.
semantics, that's all.
Right.
Don't shoot the
No, I
messenger.
think that's how I read it, or I interpreted it, I should say.
Yeah. And I did the similar process when the building inspector resigned from his position. I did post it in-house, and then the selectmen's meeting date to accept it came afterwards. The acceptance of resignations is really just a nicety, and a formal thank you for your contribution to the town.
So we need to make a motion to accept his resignation.
We do.
So I'll make a motion to accept Scott Severance resignation with regret.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What happens if we don't vote? If we vote and it's not affirmative, then we don't want to
I
accept
say
it.
no.
Nothing. He still resigns. The position's still vacant.
We thank him for his 20 years.
I just like to say it's too bad that it's come to this, that the fire department has.
So we thank him for
gotten
his
this
20
out of
years of
control,
service.
but I'm not surprised.
People sign it? Is it-
Signature of hiring authority, that'd be me. For a buyout for, I don't even think I can say the name, can I?
I don't know that I could either.
Am I allowed to say the name? I could say it, but I didn't know if I was allowed to say it.
Yes.
This is for a buyout for Daniel Gillian in the amount of $1,500. He's not accepting our insurance. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Just one place to sign. That's all. Yeah. Manifest? Make a motion to approve payroll manifest in the amount of $56,817.80.
I second that.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Do you have any purchase orders? We just did all those.
Nope. That is all.
Miscellaneous signatures and approvals.
I have 2 quotes for
Yeah, we're gonna wait for Scott to probably do that.
the wage and classification study.
Yeah, because I think we're not gonna have the money to do it out of this year's budget anyways.
No, there's funds available. As I recommended when I first asked you if you would like me to get quotes, there is going to be funds remaining in the town administrator's salary line. So while we would apply this to contracted services, which would overexpend the contracted services line, you're going to underspend the town administrator's salary line, which would offset the cost. We did receive 2 quotes in, one from MRI and one from Thornton and Associates. Both are proposing the same work. Both have good references. Thornton and Associates is a little less expensive.
They had a great proposal
than MRI.
Very detailed.
Yeah. MRI was proposing, like I said, the same process as Thornton. They did not have quite the in-depth proposal.
Really, they didn't.
So it's entirely up to you if you want to
$4,000 more.
address it at this meeting or wait until Scott's present.
Did you look them over?
Huh?
Did you look these over prior to tonight?
Did I?
Didn't.
I didn't.
Okay.
But, I mean, as far as wage study, I'm for it, but I think we need to, before we increase any wages, we definitely need to look at some job descriptions before I'm gonna sign off on any sort of wage increase.
Which that's what this would entail. So both of these companies are proposing coming in and working with the town employees, having them complete surveys, reviewing the current job descriptions.
They gave a timetable. Well, Thornton.
Yeah. MRI indicated that their process takes approximately 4 months.
Oh. The other one is 11 weeks.
We won't even have it done by budget season anyways.
If you go with MRI, it would not be done by budget season. Thornton might be cutting it close too.
Budget season's a month away.
Yeah. I mean, potentially 11 weeks if you were to go with Thornton, probably mid-November.
There's also the job descriptions as well, which would help.
Yeah, which is gonna be, that doesn't mean that when they come back to the job descriptions that we're gonna thoroughly agree with them. We might wanna tweak them too, which is gonna take some discussion. So I think putting it off until Scott's here is not gonna really affect when we get it done. Because I don't see it getting done before budget season.
That's fine.
I think we may be able to get it done before warrant article, and maybe we could do a warrant article and put that money in that way, and then do it next year in the budget. That's a possibility within the realm of possibility. We could possibly, if it gets done within that time frame, you could do a warrant article for whatever the amount difference is from their wages this year to next year. Say it's, I'll just throw a number out, 10 grand.
Yeah.
You do a warrant article for that amount to cover the difference, and then next year you put it in the budget. Let's do that.
So I'll save these and bring it back next week. Well,
Yeah,
2
I'm
weeks.
sure it's not going to be an issue, but I'll read them over for some of them. Seasonal camper permit.
This is another one.
All right.
Received one previously. Charlie Smart, who's filling in as interim building inspector.
Is this the tiny house one?
Yes.
I make a motion to allow the property of 116 Allen Farm Road, Northwood, New Hampshire for a seasonal permit. Do we have an end date?
It's, I believe on there, I believe it's October 1st or October 15th. I think it's
The 15th of October.
Yeah. Ending October 15th. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, call for vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Have you seen it?
Huh?
No, I
So
have not.
I went to the website. I looked at it. It's really cute. Like a nice little she shed.
use of Bennett Bridge Beach for Bear Paw swimming event?
Bear Paw has, they're well on their way to planning this event. It's a swim event to go around the island. The purpose of the event is to raise money to, as their preservation efforts for that island. I have in communication with the gentleman Mark West from Bear Paw, have gotten Mr. West in touch with our recreation director, our police department, and our fire department to coordinate with them. The Selectmen, however, it's the town beach, and you would need to authorize any use of the beach, which is where they would start from.
So the beach would be closed to the residents, it's just for the participants?
The problem is this is my concern, is the Northwood Beach would be closed to Stratford residents.
No, so Bow Lake is closed for Northwood people, it's only available for...
Most of Bear Paw is in Stratford. Most of the island is in Stratford.
Right, so no, I'm saying, so the beach, our beach, will be closed for Northwood residents and only for the participants.
I don't know
for
if
anybody that's going to participate, not just Northwood residents. So it'll be
No,
closed
I mean,
for...
I can't go there, just
Right,
to go
correct.
to the lake.
You can't
Right,
just
right,
go there to go to
exactly.
the lake, correct. I misunderstood what you were
Okay.
trying to say. I thought you were trying to say
No,
it'll be closed for the people that are participating,
Right,
not Northwood
no,
residents.
just the participants.
I misunderstood.
And then, who's paying for the rescue boats, the lifeguards, the EMTs?
that would all be through Bear Paw.
Okay, right. How long is it? What event is it?
The indicated from about 8:30 a.m. to about 10:30 a.m.
8:30 to 11:30, it
Yeah.
says, okay.
I think they give themselves a little bit of a buffer there.
Maybe possibly could put it on their website that the beach would be closed, that way families aren't going there.
Yeah, I don't know if the intent is to close the beach. I guess the event was
parking is
held.
so limited there.
Right. I guess the event was held last year, how that was coordinated previously. I don't know that it really was coordinated with the town previously. So certainly the rec director is now aware of the event, and police and fire and rec are coordinating with Bear Paw.
I mean, they're thinking 30 people and 10 boats. I would just rather have it be publicized so people don't will have all their kids into the car to go to the lake for the morning and then there's no parking. It'll rain anyway, probably. I mean, I'm okay with that. I appreciate them letting us know what's happening.
I'm good. Fire department, we already did that.
With that,
Yeah.
Okay.
We have an oath of office for Dolores Fritz. You hired her as your deputy, and Dolores was the one that had previously done all the oaths of office. So
She can't do it to herself?
So she didn't do one for herself. So if you would like to formally appoint her as your deputy.
I'd like to take the oath of office for Dolores Fritz for the deputy town clerk tax collector. So moved. Term expires, it doesn't expire, does it? Deputy town clerk's a higher position.
Job.
Right, it'll run concurrently with the town clerk's position. If there's a changeover in the town clerk position, the town clerk has the opportunity to appoint someone else should they choose, which then ultimately it's still the selectmen's decision.
When is her term up?
Savannah has a 3-year term.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Anything else?
The fire department came in and spoke with me yesterday regarding a youth program that they would like to implement, separate from the Explorers. I had emailed you information, but I also have printed copies here. This would be geared towards kids younger than the Explorers, which I believe is 14 and up. This program would be more for kids 12 to 14, like 6th grade to 8th grade, and certainly a scaled back version of the Explorer program, but the primary goal is to get kids interested in fire EMS and community service. And the hope is that you plant the seed and this interest prior to them being preoccupied with being a teenager.
Keep them busy.
So if you are in favor of moving forward with this, I can let the fire department know. If you'd like more information, we can certainly arrange for that.
I think anytime you get children involved in community service, it's good for the town.
It's not going to cost the town any money. I don't see any really issue with it.
Yeah. It is no cost to the town.
Free.
Nothing's ever free. we'll let it seem like it is.
Primex, I have spoken with Primex, and there's no additional cost to the liability. I mean, certainly anything the town does, if there is a claim, you know, that impacts, you know, the town's rates. But the fire department is indicating that the instructors will, you know, have the appropriate training, and what the kids would be doing is very limited, and they would not be, you know,
not putting out fires.
They would not be putting out fires or any other hazardous things.
Anything else? No. Anything else?
Nope, that is all for that.
Town administrator report?
Yeah, I have just a couple things. So I put out the budget schedule. There did need to be a change as far as, you know, swapping the police department and the town clerk budget. But we are set to get budgets underway September into October, and then the budget committee will be meeting the first 2 Saturdays in December. So we're looking to be in pretty good shape. The other item is a former employee had a claim with New Hampshire Retirement. This was an employee from the 1980s.
Yep.
We have found some information. I went back and did some research into old town reports, and the entire police department was a part-time police department at that point when this individual was employed. So I've prepared that information. I've reached out to our attorney as well to find out if we need representation there at the hearing or if we just need to submit the documentation. So the hearing itself is scheduled for August 29th. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. We did receive a petition to establish a village district up in the Lynn Grove area. Lynn Grove, and what are the other roads? Lynn Grove, Old Woods Road, Fiore Road, and Lynn Lane. It is, the meeting needs to be held like a mini town meeting. So the town clerk and the moderator need to be present for it. The supervisors of the checklist will need to hold some meeting dates to update the checklist so that town residents can register to vote, and the voters are from the district. So the registered voters within that district can vote to establish the village district. So we're scheduling that for September 25th. There's been some discussion, and I think the 6 p.m. time is probably most appropriate. I don't anticipate that it should take too long. My question is, do you want to hold any sort of meeting prior to the 25th to give other people an opportunity to talk about it? Not sure how the town has previously handled the village districts. If they have, it was indicated to me that the town with the previous Cove Village District had held a public hearing prior to the vote. I don't know that that's necessary.
No, I don't live in the district. Scott would know the answer to that one.
Well, we can talk about it a little more, and perhaps at the previous, selectmen meeting to the September 25th, we can, potentially hold another discussion regarding
Thank you.
the establishment. We held the joint board committee workshop on August 1st. I thought it went very well. There was a lot of good dialogue.
A lot of people.
A lot of people. It was a very good turnout. Primex will be preparing the summary that will include recommendations for moving forward. One thing that I might suggest is that when the selectmen give your individual reports, that you could possibly report out to each other what the other boards and committees are doing. So that, if you sit on the Recreation Commission or the Planning Board, maybe a brief report out of what that commission's doing, and then the full board and the people that review the selectmen's meetings are also aware, even if they're not reviewing all of the meeting minutes. So that was just one suggestion that I had. The SAU gave me a call, and they were wondering if the select board wanted to have joint public hearings regarding the school resource officer, if they would like the school board to hold them on their own.
I think we asked them to hold it, but we would attend.
Okay.
Did they give a tentative date?
They have not yet. I was going to reach back out tomorrow. So I can keep you updated on that.
Try to get it done before budget season.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna be here 4 Tuesdays in a row. I don't want to have to do 2 Thursdays too.
Yep. 170 Sherburne Hill Road I did some deed research and looked into our zoning ordinance more, and it is a buildable lot, so it is something that the town could offer for sale at market value. The town's policy indicates that we go with a realtor for that. Is there a realtor that the town uses, or is there a realtor that the select board would like to use? Should I pick one?
I think we have a few in town, don't we?
I think we need to pick somebody out of town, so there's no bias whatsoever. I think it needs to be a realtor that is from out of town that does it, that lists it, so we can get fair market value and there's no transparency whatsoever.
So if you want to find one, must be some Epsom or Rochester or something.
As long as it's not somebody in town.
Sure. Not a problem. And then I may, if we're putting one property out and utilizing Realtor services, I may look at other properties that the town has and present to you to include those also. You know, so we can maybe get them all done at the same time. The library trustees have asked the road agent if he could demo their walkway. It would save them some money. Charlie, I guess, has indicated that he is okay with doing it. I just wanted to verify that the selectmen are okay with.
Does he have the time with everything else he's got to do?
Yeah, that is something that he'll have to balance. Obviously, he needs to put road things first. But I just wanted to verify that you all were fine with him doing that.
We need to try to stay on our road things. I'm not against him doing it, but we definitely need to do our road stuff first.
If he has time, but not, right, not want him to think he does and then
this
not
goes
have
back-
time, and then the
this
job
goes
is,
back-
hurts them.
This goes back to the original 3 months ago when we wanted the plan. Because we'd know, right now, if we had a plan, we'd know how far we were behind.
Perhaps you could
By weeks,
contact
you know what I
him
mean?
and see how far along like he is on the list.
I think he's only done Gulf Road.
That has to be
Which he has to be
Exactly, so he's done one road out of how many that he was supposed to do. So we're definitely several weeks behind. Because we've only got another month before October 1st. Month and a
Do
half.
not contacting him and asking.
Month and a
I'll
half.
talk to him on a regular basis.
Okay.
I can
Hopefully he
certainly.
has more done than we just don't realize.
I'm pretty sure it was only
I'm
Gulf
gonna
Road.
be
He was
honest.
just got back from vacation.
And the select board had me submit a letter to the Rockingham County Conservation District. They had offered up the potential to have invasive species on town lands, town working lands, to be mitigated. I met with Rockingham County Conservation District at the transfer station. There is a substantial amount of Japanese knotweed in the area. So Rockingham County reviewed the property. They did get back that due to the size of the transfer station and the amount of Japanese knotweed, they do not have funding to help us.
So our problem
at
is
this
too
point.
big for help.
However, they would
Need some boats.
they would like to put us on the list for 2019, and I had indicated that we would appreciate that. If it would be of no cost to the town, it would be something that they would fund.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
Is that anything?
Just a couple questions. I noticed coming in the bushes or the garden club had asked to do garden work, and it was a 2-to-1 vote, and now I notice it's been done. Did we hire someone, or what happened?
No, that was a surprise to many of us. Steve Bailey had the inmates in, and he had popped his head in and indicated that they were going to be trimming the bushes.
There's nothing left.
They're very trimmed.
You'll grow back. Just like that Japanese thing.
You can see now.
It does let quite a bit of light into all of the windows.
I was just curious because they said no, and then I noticed it was done. I was like, okay. Had the lines been done at the lake yet? I know that all the rain.
I touched base with Charlie on Monday when he was back from vacation, and he said as soon as it's not raining, he can do it. And it happened to rain Monday and today.
Okay.
But I told him that it is a priority for this week.
Right. And I know we were invited this evening to the library. They were having at 6 o'clock the Read 1,000 Books by kindergarten. So I want to congratulate all of the children that did participate in that. And we wish we were there, but we were here instead. So good job, guys. That's it.
I don't have anything. I'm good. What do we have for non-public? Anything? Oh, no, we got one more round of citizens forum. Come on up, speak.
Yeah, just a quick thing to say. I had a chance to meet Mr. Severance and know that he's worked a long time for the town. And I've done a lot of emergency work, rural emergency work, inner city work. I've worked with a lot of fire departments, police departments, EMTs, paramedics. Those folks never get paid what their skills and their experience are. But beyond that, there's no way to pay them for some of the traumatic situations they have to deal with in their work. So if there's no reason why there would be some employment-related issue, I'd encourage folks to just make a special effort of saying thanks for all those years of service, because it's tough work.
There's an opening. Do you want it?
I paid at the office.
State my name, John Boudreau. Just real quick, thank you for your support on the youth program. Appreciate that. Give you a little history that we've been going round and round with Daniel Webster on that, and they don't want to contact me or show me any support. So we decided to go this other way. Talked to a lot of other communities. Like she said, we talked to Primax, actually had them come down, me and the chief, and a couple other people that were involved in this, sat down with them, and they applauded what we're doing, backing us 100%. Second thing, talking about speed bumps, just remember, and she'll contest to this, put an IV in somebody in an ambulance when you hit a speed bump that you're not really used to being there for a while. Could be a situation, being on that end of it. I would suggest pushing maybe the PD to pick up the area a little bit.
I think it's a liability. You got to check with Primax.
Yeah, because you hit a speed bump, or and being 20 years with the Public Works, we've had private areas that had speed bumps, but they were private. But we never allowed stuff like that on the town roads because, again, there is a liability. Somebody just say, "Oh, I didn't see it," and they tear the bottom of their car out, and then we were liable. They could have been liable. Just something to think about. So that's it. Thank you again for your support.
Anybody else? Looks like we got some non-public, so I'll make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, B and C.
I second that.
Roll call, Donald Hutchins, aye.
Beth Boudreau, aye.
We're now in non-public.
Video's being recorded, you're all set to go.
I'm gonna make a motion to come out of non-public.
I second that.
Roll call, Donald Hutchins, aye.
Beth Boudreau, aye.
We're now out of non-public. I'll make a motion to seal the minutes.
I second that.
Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
We now seal the minutes. Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Roll call, Donald Hutchins, aye.
Beth Boudreau, aye.
We're now adjourned.